Hey there, planners. Today is the third video in our Build Your Own Digital Planner series, and today we actually start the building. So go grab your planners and let's get planning. So it's taken us a little bit to get here, but today we actually start building our planner, which is very exciting. So if you have not watched the first two videos and done all the pre-work that's required, you need to go back and watch those videos because there's so much prep work that goes into being able to efficiently build your planner. If you haven't done that, then you're going to find yourself running into roadblocks and having to stop and go back and do those steps. So I'll have all the videos listed down in the description box below. Make sure you start from the beginning so you can do your homework around figuring out what your planner sections are going to be, how you want them organized, and also what you want your planner to look like, as well as figuring out the size of your planner, which is really, really important when it comes to building your planner, as well as your color schemes and what you want your planner to look like as far as binding, if it's a notebook or not. All right, so assuming you've done all that homework and you're ready to go, it's time to jump into Keynote. All right, so we're in Keynotes, and the first thing we're going to do is to create a new presentation and choose our theme. So we're going to go with a basic white theme. And the first thing we're going to do is set the size of our template. And with this means the size of the planner we're creating, what it's going to look like in Goodnotes. We're going to go up here to the three dots and go to Document Setup and click at the bottom Slide Size. We're going to create a custom size, and this is where you will enter the size of your planner in points. If you find yourself completely lost right here at this point, go back and watch the second video in this series all about how to calculate the size of your planner in points, how to test it out, how to make sure you get the right size. So assuming you've done all that and you know your size, you want to enter it. For me, my size is 1728 by 1080. I'll hit done, and then you'll hit done. All right, so now we've got the size of our planner all set up and ready to go. The next step we're going to do, and where we're going to spend a good portion of our time, is in the master slides. So you'll just click over here on this slide and go to Edit Slide Layout. This takes you to the section of master slides. Master slides are really important for editing the slide layout, getting rid of all the bulk slides, putting the foundation and background of our slides together so that we don't have to recreate things over and over again on every slide. So the first thing we're going to do is scroll all the way down to the bottom and click on the slide that says blank. This is actually going to be our master slide. The rest of them we're going to get rid of. So you can just start clicking on all the other slides and hitting delete to get rid of all the other slides, because we only want one left in the master, which is the blank one. So go ahead and do that. Click it twice, hit delete, and keep going till you get to the last one. Now when you get to this top item and you hit delete, you're going to get a notification that says, hey, this is currently your master slide. What do you want to replace it with? You should only have the option of blank left. Click on blank and hit choose. Now we have a clean slate for our planner to start working with. We're going to rename this slide by clicking on it and hitting rename, and we're going to call it master slide. And this is just to help us navigate later. All right, so now that we've got that named, what we're going to do is start to create the look of our planner. So there's a couple of things to think about. I'm going to flip back over to my planner. You can see in my planner, I have my digital planner sitting on a white background. And then you can see the layering that's going on here. Let me zoom in so you can see it really closely. You can see that I have a white background with a planner, almost looks like the planner cover, and there's a little bit of shadow going on there. And then I have the planner page, and then I have the planner tabs, right? All of that is going to be on every page of my planner. You're going to see that same thing. The planner background, tabs with a shadow, white. You're going to see all that going on every planner. And that's what we're talking about building with this first page. So going back into Keynotes, if you want a background in your like a desk for your planner to be sitting on, you want to add that first. I'm actually going to do that because I know that's a very popular option. I highly recommend a site called Pixabay. Pixabay is full of copyright-free images, and I'll show you kind of what that looks like here. You can go to Pixabay and you can search things like wood background, and you'll see all kinds of options. These images are free to use. They're copyright-free. You can use them for personal or commercial use. You don't have to worry about giving anybody credit or attribution. You, of course, can if you want to, but it's not necessary. There are thousands and thousands of images on this site to use, and I use this quite a bit because I like the security of knowing it's copyright-free images. So I have grabbed an image from this site with a background, and now I'm going to go over to the plus sign, add a photo, and get to the wood background that I chose. Close the menu out, and then I'm going to make this bigger by just stretching it out to the corners, and that becomes the table with which my planner is going to sit on. If you don't care about the background and you just want to leave it white, that's fine too. You can do that. Now, one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this image so that I can't edit it or move it around by accident. And I do that by clicking on it, going to the brush, going to arrange, and hitting this bottom option which says lock. So now I can't accidentally move it around or edit it. All right, the next step is we're going to add the back of our planner. So we want to add in the cover of our planner. I would recommend going back to Pixabay if you need a free image for this. I have actually already grabbed one off of Pixabay, and I'm going to make my planner cover this really awesome blue leather. And I just searched leather backgrounds, and this is what came up. So I'm going to situate this on top of my table, on top of the base, knowing that I am going to need room for tabs, and I'm going to choose to put tabs on the side. If you want tabs on the top, you'll have to leave room up there. Just keep that in mind as you are putting in your image, and you can resize the image using image and editing mask. That will allow you to edit it without doing it evenly, so you can shrink it down and make it longer or make it taller. You can do that as well. Play around with editing mask if your image isn't fitting on the page exactly like you want it. So there's my planner cover. Now I want to give my planner cover a little bit of a shadow, so I can go in here to Style, Paintbrush Style, and then I can click yes on the shadow, and then I have some options about what kind of shadow I would like. So just play around with these and see which shadow you like the best. I use different shadows for every one. I don't always use the same one. I think for today I'm going to use this middle shadow option, which if I scroll in, you can see just gives it a little bit of a shadow, and that just gives it depth and more reality. Certainly not necessary. That's an option that you don't have to do, but I like to do that. Okay, I'm really happy with this now. So again, I'm going to go to Arrange and Lock because I don't want to accidentally move that around. All right, so there's my planner, the table that my planner is sitting on, and my planner cover. Now I need to add in pages. So this is where all that homework that you did about planner style comes in. Do you want one complete page? Do you want 2 pages as in a notebook? And if so, do you have a binding that you're going to be using? That's when all of this pre-work comes in. So I am actually going to create what I am most comfortable with, which is 2 pages, 2-page notebook connected with my rings that I built in Procreate. If you purchased some sort of planner binding, this is where you're going to pull that in and start using it. So I'm going to start with the pages. I'm going to go to the plus sign, I'm going to go to add a shape, and I'm going to use the square. And I'm going to click over to Paintbrush and change that color of that page to white. Now you could change it to any color. If you want your pages to be rainbow colored, you can do that. You can also do blackout pages, which are really cool, and make it much easier in a digital planner to do blackout planning if you wanted. So that's an option too. You can have a lot of fun with this. So let me close out this menu, and now I need to arrange the pages. So I'm just going to stretch this out. And what I really want is for this to be right in the center, because I'm going to have 2 pages. So if I click on this, copy, and then paste, I've got 2 pages that I need to have evenly spaced, but I also need there to be a little bit of space between them. Because typically your pages are, not touching in a planner. There's a little bit of space between them where those coils are going to go. So, and I can see as I'm moving around and playing with this, I can see the width and kind of make sure they're even. And that is going to be completely even. Now, if you can't get it even or correct as you're trying to move it around, you can always go up here to the paintbrush and to arrange, and you've got the option to adjust the width and height right there just by clicking on it. You can either do the plus or minus, or you can actually type it in. So that's a more precise way than trying to use your pencil. Now what you'll note is that I have left myself some space around the edge, like my pages are sitting within my planner notebook, and that's also a place where I'm going to put tabs. So I've left that room there. Now, some people like to do a 3D layered look with their pages as though there are multiple pages in the planner. I'm going to show you how to do that. This is all optional. You could stop right here and just add in your coils, and that would be fine. But if you want that 3D look, I'm going to show you how to do that. So the first thing I'm going to do is, if you want the 3D look, you might want to go out just a little bit further, because you're going to be coming in a little bit with each one. And then I'm going to lock these so that I don't accidentally move them around as I'm adding in the layers. So now I've locked these 2 pages. I'm going to add in another square, and I'm going to bring it so that it's just inside this page that I've already put down, leaving just a little bit of space on the edge. And you can also leave a little bit of space on the top if you want to. Oops. Little bit of space on the top. And this is finicky. This is where I actually like to come into the arrange feature, and I can play with where it's sitting. So for example, if I want to move it out just a little bit, and I would click on the X, and then I can click on the Y and move it up or down just a little bit. And then I can, using the width and height, make it just a little bit wider and just a little bit taller. All right, so play around with that until you get it laying exactly like you like it. And then I'm going to change the color to be the lightest gray. Just the very lightest gray on that. All right, now I've got that. I'm going to copy that and paste it over here to do the second one and get that all lined up exactly where I want it, and I've got it just right in the center. And again, you might have to use the arrange tool to get it right in the center. All right, once I have those where I want them, I'm going to go back to arrange and lock those so I don't accidentally move those. And now that is going to be my shadow that gives my pages a layered look, which means I need one more page on top. This is going to be a white page. And now I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to bring it right over to the corner and make that page sitting on top. And I'm going to have to use my arrange tool because it is so small that I'm going to need to use arrange to get it exactly where I want it. So starting with the X and Y axis, I want it to be a little bit further over. And these are so small, I don't know that you can even see the movements that are happening, but using this will get you that really precise precise centering and give you just that small little edge that looks like a shadow. I'll zoom in here in a minute so you can see it. All right, and then I'm gonna make it just a little wider. And just a little taller. All right, now let me zoom in on this so you can see. Let me lock this. Actually, I'll copy it first and paste it over here. And then let me lock this and I'll zoom in on it so you can see it. See how I've got, oh, and see that's good that I zoomed in because it's a little too far up. I need to bring it down just a little bit. Let me unlock it and on the Y axis, bring that down. And can you see that little bit of shift going there? So it just gives it that little shadow. I'm also going to click on the X axis and bring it over just a little bit more. Okay, now I can lock it and I can show you. You can see how in that corner the pages look very layered, right? Okay, now I need to do the same thing with this one. I need to get that very centered. Yep, and then lock that one. All right, so that's a little bit of trouble to go through, but if you want that layered look, you can get that layered look, which if that's important to you, if that detail is important to you to give your planner that layered look, looks a bit more authentic. And you can keep going with that. You could add more and more layers in, as many pages, and gives it that depth look. If that's important to you, then go ahead and do that here up front. Because again, remember, we're still working in the master slides. So this means that when we go back, and I'll show you when we're done, now every time we add a slide, it's going to have that look. So that's why we're doing all this work on the master slide, so that we don't have to redo this every time. All right, now it's time to add in my binding. So I actually have my coils saved in my photo album. You're gonna want to save yours and make sure they're here. And looks like they lined up pretty good. I'm gonna make them just a little longer so that they fit right there in the center. And that is my coil. So I'm going to go ahead and lock that. Now I've got everything that I've put in locked, and that is the beginning of my notebook. So if you have made it to this part, give yourself a pat on the back. You just built the foundation for your planner. Great job so far. Great start. All right, now we have all of that in place. We need to start adding tabs to our planner. So this is when you need to break out your list of sections, prioritized in order how you want them laid out. What are your top sections? What are your subsections? For me, for demonstrative purposes, I am just going to build a planner that has 3 months. I know you're probably building a planner that has, all 12 months, maybe more, with other sections as well. I'm just going to build a planner with 3 months and 2 notes sections, just for demonstrative purposes. So I need 5 tabs. I'm going to put them along the side here. So for tabs, I'm going to go over here and I'm going to pick a shape. Now there are all kinds of shapes here. You've got geometry shapes, you've got objects you can use, symbols. There's all kinds of shapes in Keynotes. I like to keep it pretty simple and go with a basic shape, and I really like this rounded corners tab because it reminds me of the type of tabs that I would have in my normal planner. So circles are fun to work with too. All right, so let's click on the shape. And now I need to add the color for this. So depending on what color scheme you went with, now that comes into play. So if you used a photo for your color scheme, you're going to go over here to add the photo, and you're just going to pull it in, and I'm going to use that one I grabbed off Pinterest. It goes with my blue cover. I'm going to use this one. So for this tab, when I click on the tab, and when I click on the paintbrush and go to fill, I'm going to go to color and slide over, pick up that color picker and click on which color I want to use. So there's my first tab, and I'm just going to leave that there for right now. I'm going to take it out in the end, but I'm going to leave it there for right now. And I slide my tab over to how I want it to lay, and I'm going to shrink it down because I want kind of a smaller tab. I'm going to put it right there. Now, it looks a little funny because it's sitting on top of the page, but when I go to the paintbrush and arrange, this sliding bar at the very top allows me to push it behind the pages. And because we have multiple pages, I can actually push it behind a couple pages or a couple layers. I can make it all the way in the back, or I can pull it to the front, wherever I want it to be. And I actually think I want it to stick out a little bit further like that. And there's my first tab. All right, now you need to think about when sizing your tabs, how many tabs do you need to fit into the space? There is kind of a trick that I'll show you how to use, but it does require some playing around. So I know that I want 5 tabs. This planner that I'm building has 5 sections. It's a very simple planner. You may have a lot more, and you may need to use both sides or both sides on the top. But for this, I'm going to click on it, I'm going to copy it, and I'm going to paste it. And then I'm going to bring that one all the way down to the bottom, kind of making it evenly spaced. And I'm going to send that to the back using arrange. And it looks like I need to bring it out just a little bit so that it's even. Okay, so I've got the top and the bottom, and I know I want 2 more. So I'm going to go ahead and add in 2 more tabs and just kind of 3 more tabs for a total of 5. Just going to throw those around anywhere. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to click on the first one, and I'm going to use the select objects. Okay, this puts me in a mode where I can select multiple objects at one time. Once I've got everything I want selected, I hit done down there at the bottom, and then I go to the paintbrush, and to the arrange feature, I've got some really great options here. So align and distribute is a great way to make sure they're lined up evenly horizontally and vertically. So first thing I'm going to do is make sure they're all lined up to the furthest point out. Actually, now that I'm looking at them, I think I want them to be lined up to the middle. So I'm going to line them up to the middle. And then I am going to distribute them evenly vertically. And that gives me evenly spaced tabs on my page. Now, it looks a little funny because I'm going to go ahead and push these other ones back behind so that they're all behind. Now, it looks a little funny here because I only have these 5. But think about if you had, 12 that you needed to fit in here. This is a great way for you to be able to space them out evenly, vertically, make sure everything fits. And actually, I'm going to pull these because that looks a little funny to me. I'm going to pull these up so that they're a little closer together. But that gives you a good idea about how you can space out your tabs and make sure they're fitting all in the space that you have them assigned to fit in. So there's my 5 tabs. You can keep adding, use the arrange tool to make sure they're set up the way you want them to be. Now that I have my tabs, I'm going to select objects again, select them all, hit done, and I'm going to lock them so I do not accidentally move them around. The next thing I need to do is I need to give my tabs names. So for that, I'm going to go up here into add, and I'm going to go to shapes, and I'm going to add text. Now, this is where if you have, go over to paintbrush, if you have a special font that you want to use, you want to make sure to have that added in. I'm not going to go into the details about how to add fonts onto your iPad or device. There are lots of resources out there. You can just say how to import Google Fonts, search for that. You can find video tutorials. It's not difficult at all. I am going to pick one of the fonts that I have. It's one of my favorites. It's American Typewriter. I use it quite a bit, and it comes pretty standard on most devices. So there's my text. I'm going to click here, and I'm going to call this January for the first one. All right, so now I've got the word. I think I want to change a little bit about the style. I'll come over here to the paintbrush and I'm going to make the words white. And I'm going to go to arrange and I'm going to rotate around so that it is written horizontal. And then when I move that over here, put it right in the center of my tab. And there's my first tab name that says January. All right, now I'm going to copy that and paste it on the second tab. And then I can line it up and I can change this to February and so on for the rest of your tabs. All right, so for my pretend planner that I'm building here, I have January, February, March, notes, and other. You, of course, will use your list of planner sections and make sure that you have all of your tabs built out for those. All right. I think for now that's all I wanted to build on this page. So I'm going to go ahead and delete the image and say done. Now here is my template, and every time I add a page, it's going to come up like this. All right, so now we've got our foundation set. It's time to start building the content into our planner. So think about your planner. When you open up the first page of your planner, what do you want it to look like? If I go back to my planner, the first page that I open up to is a master index. Now I've got the sections of my planner here, which are listed on the side as well, but then I have the sub index as well. And the reason I do this is because this is a place that I can come to anytime and click exactly where I want to go. Just helps with navigation and with going from the cover into the planner. I'm going to recreate the same thing here. So I have 3 sections of my planner. I have 5 sections of my planner. I want to list out those 5 and then list out all the subsections I'm going to have. So let's start with January. I'm going to add in a shape. I'll use, you could do a shape or text. I'm going to use a shape. And I'm going to want to change that color. So I'm going to need my image again. Let me go add in my photo over here. And I'll make it really small and put it down here in the corner. So now I'm going to take that square, go to the style, and make it a color. And I'm going to slide over to my color picker. I'm going to make January this really pretty purple. So I get that where I want it, and I'm going to type in it January. And of course you can change the font. If I want the font to be different, I can come over here to text and use my favorite font, which is American Typewriter. And now I have that listed. All right, next I want to add in all the subcategories. So I go to the plus button and I can either use text or a shape. I think I'll just use text in this case. And I'll make the text, I'll go to the style changer and I'm going to make the text that purple. Now because I already have the purple on here and I just used it, when I click over to color and I slide over to the color wheel, it should actually be here already because I've already used it. So I can click on, it's got like a history here, it keeps the last 5 colors that you use, so that's handy as you're going through. I'm going to pick that and then I'm going to go back to the style. I think it needs to be a little bigger. Change my font and maybe make it bold. Yeah, that's too much. Okay, so that's kind of the size. I'm going to go with 27. That's the size that I want. So I'm going to close the editing feature and I'm going to list out the subsections in January. So let's say I have a calendar and then I want to create another one. So I'm going to copy, paste. I have a calendar. Let's say I have a goals section and copy. And let's say I have a, gratitude section. All right, so now these aren't arranged very well. So what I can do, as I showed before, I can select objects and select all three of those, hit done, go over to my editing function to arrange, and then I can space them out. I can make sure they're all lined up from a vertical standpoint, and then I can space them out evenly horizontally. So now they are all spaced and even horizontally, and that's for January. Now let's assume that I have all the same sections for February. What I can do is select objects and select all of those, hit done, copy, and then click anywhere and hit paste, and I get a second version of that. So it's not exactly what I wanted. I don't want it to be an exact version. I want it to be the February option. So once I've pasted it where I want it, then I can go in and let's say I want this a different color. Go into my color picker, and I'm actually going to use this dark purple. And same thing for here, select objects. I'm going to select those multiple, go to text, and change the color of the text. Since I've used that dark blue, it's right there waiting on me, change that. And now I can actually edit the words. So I'm going to click in there, title this February, and then the sections are the same. And now I'm going to do it again for March. All right, now I want to create the master index for my notes and other. So again, I'm just going to select these objects, hit done, copy, come over here, and I want to paste them over here. So let's say this one I want to be different color. Come over here to my color picker, and I want to pick up that dark purple color. And I'm going to change this to notes. And let's say this is list. And this is ideas. And this is general. And I want to change the color of these. And then finally, I need to have one more section for other. And I'm going to make this color, and here's something cool. I can actually get rid of this now because I have all of the colors from this image somewhere in the planner. So what I can do is when I click this to change the color, if for some reason it is not in the memory here, I can take the color picker and put it anywhere on the planner, and it's going to pick up the color in the planner. So I'm going to use that orange, and I also want to change the font here, and now I just need to change the words. So this is other, and I'm just leaving those to determine in the future. Now, I don't really like where this is sitting on the page. I think it's a little bit uneven. So what I can do is click on the page, hit select objects, and then I can actually just drag and highlight everything. Now I'm done, and I can move them all together at the same time, which is really handy. So I'm going to center it in the page right there. Now I have my master index set up. All right, so I'm ready to add my first page, which is going to be my January section. And this is where I want to stop and advise, as you are getting into the building, go grab a scratch sheet of paper and start a list. My slide 1 is my master index. Now, I would highly recommend that you use erasable ink. This is a friction pilot with erasable ink that I'm making this list with. You are going to need this list when it comes to the next part of building your digital planner. And you might move some things around, so you want to make sure it's in erasable ink. But you need to keep a master list. Now you can do this electronically if you want to keep it in a Word document off to the side, but you need to keep a list of what's on each slide, because you're going to need that in the future. So I've got number 1 is my master index. Now I'm going to add my January calendar page. I'm going to come over here, add a slide. this is going to be my calendar page for January. So I wanted to show you how to build a calendar in this format. And we're actually going to use the option to add a table. And if you flip through, you can find a blank table. Click on that blank table and then close your editing feature. All right, so you've got this blank table. If you think about how you want, and you should have decided this as you were, designing, laying out your planner design, but if you think about how a planner will fit here, you've got 2 pages, and so what I want to do is I want to have 3 days on one side and 4 days on the other side, just like this is laid out. So I'm going to need 4 columns here and 3 columns here. I'm going to want a place at the top for the listing of the day of the week, and then typically I like to give 5 weeks to every calendar. That works for most weeks, most months. So 1, 2, 3, 4. I need an additional row down here. So I'm going to come down here and click on the row numbers, add a row. And I want this row at the top to be much shorter. So I can come in here and I can shrink this up. Now that means that these are all uneven and I want to make them evenly spaced. So I'm going to come over here to the row column size, and I'm going to make the height all the same for all of these. So this takes some playing around with. Just use your row, column, and height. You want it to fit on the page. Think about the size of your calendar. I'm going to want a little bit of space at the top of the page. So I'm going to shrink that down actually to a perfect square. So the width is 160 and the height is 160, and that's going to be perfect. All right, so there's my template for my calendar. Now I'm going to copy this table and paste it over here. Now I don't need 8 days in the week, but what I do want to do is maybe use this first column over here to list out the week numbers, just because I like to have that in my calendars. Maybe you don't, and that's fine, but it's a great way to use that extra column. If you don't want to use it at all, just delete the column. I'm actually just going to shrink it down. And then I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to highlight all of those, go over to my arrange, go to row and column size, and make them, I believe they were all 160. So I'm going to bring that down to 160 so that it's even with the table on the other page. All right, so now I can highlight the whole calendar and arrange it so it sits right there next to and even with the other one. So there's the template for my calendar. Now you can go in and add the names of the days. Let's say I want these highlighted. Go over to cell and go to cell fill. Same thing as before, go over to color and I can pick what color I want that to be. Same thing for this side. Cell fill, go over to color, pick that color, and then I can add in the days of the week. All right, so there's my days of the week. Now you get to make the decision about, do you want a dated or undated planner? If you want a dated planner, then you would want to go ahead and plug in the dates. You can do that with circles or just with text. You would want to go ahead and plug in the dates. But this is our calendar page, and now I'm going to add in another page because if you remember, if I go back to the top, I said each item in this section had calendar, goals, and gratitude. You may have a lot more than that. You may have weekly pages and daily pages and all kinds of other things in the section of your planner. You want to add in slides for each one of those. Now that I've added in that second slide, I'm going to come over here and write to January calendar. Do not forget to keep your list. That is going to be very important in the next step. All right, so I've got the third page. I said this was going to be for goals. I'm just going to add in a heading that says goals here. You can certainly do more than this. If If you want to, you can add in a template. You can build out the different things that you want on each of your pages. And really, you see, this is how you build the planner. You just build it one page at a time in the order that you want. So I'm going to let you keep going with this and playing around in Keynotes. There are a couple of things to keep in mind. As you're adding pages to your planner, keep in mind that you can duplicate pages. So if I got to the end of January and now I'm getting ready to do February, I can come over here and I can click to select this slide, and I can copy it, and then I can come down here and I can paste it. So now I have repeated the calendar page. All I would need to do is change the colors and change the title from January to February. So I don't actually have to recreate that table. Again, same thing with your regular pages. You can duplicate the pages so that way you don't actually have to keep creating them from scratch over and over again. Another thing you can do to help order your planner is if I come over here and I hold down on the page, I can actually indent the page, which creates a grouping that then I can condense. So let's say I had a bunch of pages in my January section. I can actually indent them all and then squish them down. I can condense them down so I don't have to look at them. That is the January section. And the other thing you can do is when you highlight that and copy it and come over here to paste it, it's going to paste the section, all the sub pages as well, which is very handy if you have repeating months over and over again that you want to use the same templates and pages. You just need to change a few words on each one. That's a great way to do it as well. Copying and pasting is huge. If I wanted to use this table style for something else, I can copy it and then take it to another page and paste it. If you find yourself creating the same template over and over again, you may want to come in here and edit slide layout, add an additional master slide. So let's say we wanted to call this goals. And let's say we were doing the same thing over and over in goals. So I would come in here and add in my 4 squares for my goals, hit done. And now when I go to add a new slide, it gives me the option, do I want to add the master slide or the goals slide? So if I'm creating a goals slide, I would just come in here and put the goals slide in, and now I just populate it for the specific month that I'm doing it in. So that's another way to prevent yourself from having to create the same things over and over again. Being able to move pages around, let's say I don't want this page here anymore, I can slide it down to the bottom and move that page around. So you've got a lot of options within Keynotes to play around with. Keep playing around with those and keep building out your pages. The last thing I wanted to cover in this section is about creating a cover page, and I'm actually going to go to the master slides to create that cover page. I'm going to create a new one and call this the cover. And I'm going to show you how to create a very simple cover. And what we're going to do is unlock all of these aspects and delete them. All right, so now I've got back down to the base, the desk that my planner is sitting on, and I want to create the book, the planner book. So I'm actually going to add in a photo of that planner cover and maybe turn that around to look like the book. So let me go over here to arrange, and I'm going to rotate it like this and make it a little smaller, like my book, and actually give it the rings. So let me add in the rings, put them over here. And you've got options. You could add in a little plant or some decor. You could add in a title. Let's say I wanted to give this a title that says, make this a much bigger font, change the font to American Typewriter, and the color, I'm going to go with that orange, and I'm going to say my planner. And so I can also maybe play with the style a little bit, give it a shadow, maybe make it bold, and that's going to be the cover of my planner. If you remember from my planner, I have this. This is an image that I found off Pixabay, and I just erased everything that was around it. This was a phone, and I added in the Planning Annie logo. I found this pen on Pixabay, and I erased everything around it. So really play with your cover and get it the way you want it to look. This is very simplified, but I'm going to add in the cover and put that at the very beginning by selecting it and moving it to the top. That's going to be the first page, which means now I have to go into my list and add in the cover, right? So now this is 2 and this is 3. So just keep in mind, you got to keep an accurate list of numbers. That's going to become really important in the next step that we take. I'm going to stop here, give you time to keep building out your planner, playing around in Keynotes, adding in those shapes, getting all your sections lined up. You've got the basics now of how to build it, how to use the master slides. Go ahead and build out the rest of your planner. And the next time we come back, we're going to be talking about how to add in hyperlinks, which are so important to being able to navigate through your planner. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you got value out of it. If so, give me a thumbs up. Leave your comments and questions and ideas down in the description box below. Make sure you're subscribed to Planning Annie so you don't miss the final video in this series about how to make your links in your planner and actually export it and start using it in Goodnotes. Thanks for planning with me.